91.3 FM WUNH Durham. My name is Teddy. It is 12:38 p.m. It's finally the time. I am joined in the studio by Amy O'Rourke, wife of Beto O'Rourke. She's in New Hampshire for a little bit. Amy, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners?
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. I'm here with Teddy and Megan, and it's great to meet you and to be on campus. I've been to New Hampshire before, but this is my first time on campus, and it is so beautiful. It's also a glorious day, but it's just an awesome campus.
We were just commenting on the weather difference between here and Texas.
Right, it's a little warmer in El Paso.
It's a little
right
warmer
now.
there, I would assume. So what are you here at UNH for? What are you here for today and for the weekend?
Yeah, so this is my first trip alone on the campaign trail. So great to be in New Hampshire. I was in Concord this morning with a round table discussing gun violence prevention. Beto's going to be having a town hall at UNH on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, 4:30. So we're really trying to connect with young people all across this country. We have found that there's just this energy and enthusiasm and leadership that is unparalleled. So really trying to engage people in great conversations, empower them to step up and take the lead on a lot of these issues.
Yeah, of course. I think that's absolutely true. Do you have any just advice for, young students or people who are just beginning to vote? They just turned 18 or something. They're in college, very transitional period of their life. Do you have just anything to say to those kind of people?
Yeah, just that your voice, your vote is so important, I think, especially right now. And so if you're looking to get involved, there's so many different ways of doing that. We've seen people that if, they're passionate about gun violence prevention, they're signing up to join March for Our Lives. They're finding candidates that they're really excited about, and they're volunteering on their campaigns. They're phone banking, they're block walking. And they're just the real powerhouse of a lot of these campaigns. Yeah,
absolutely. I've noticed just, being on campus for 4 years, and Megan can attest to this as well, just all the energy when you have politicians come to campus and there's elections, all the involvement and people talking about getting up to vote, because that's always a huge problem with young people is a lot of them don't know the issues or don't care to vote or, something like that, which is a problem because, in a democratic society, you need full participation for things to work. And Megan, you know that as a canvasser and doing things like that.
Last year during the midterm elections, I was a fellow with the New Hampshire Democratic Party, and we actually had a very large ongoing campaign to get out the vote. It went from, honestly, it was there like the moment I stepped onto campus as an incoming freshman last year. That August up until like the very last moment the polls closed here, like we were rushing people in the door saying, go, get your vote. And we actually ended up increasing voter turnout in Durham by about 50%. And the same kind of increase was reported in Keene and Hanover, I believe Plymouth too, just other college towns where a lot of on-the-ground Democratic get-out-the-vote initiatives have been proven to work, especially in considering how big of a swing state New Hampshire is and how important voting is here. It definitely shows the impact that canvassing and groundwork can be in making sure people are actually voting.
Yeah, so what we saw in Texas, some of the listeners may not know, Beto ran for the U.S. Senate in Texas, and there were so many people that said, don't even bother showing up on college campuses because college students don't vote. It's a waste of your time. And Beto really just pushed back on that, and he said, well, why would they come out and vote? And if no one is ever showing up and listening to them about the issues that are important to them. So he stopped at campuses all across the state, and we saw voter turnout with young people up over 200%. And I really think that is the key for us going forward.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You talked about, Beto's candidacy, and he was previously running for Senate against Ted Cruz, and you guys were kind of put into the national spotlight so fast. It was all of a sudden everyone knew the O'Rourke name. What was that like? What was the transitional period? I actually watched your View interview. I know you did that a few weeks ago. I loved it. It was awesome. And I know you read a book by Michelle Obama, correct?
Right, yeah.
And so how has that been, being in the spotlight in that whole transitional period to becoming almost famous?
Our kids would say it makes it a little tough,
Right.
Going to the Chihuahuas baseball games at love to go to. It's right down the street from our house, or even a trip to the grocery store takes a little bit longer, just because, a lot of folks want to stop. But it's always so well-intentioned. I mean, people are just so gracious and want to express their support, want to feel part of the team. And that to us is, it's just a wonderful feeling. So you got to keep it real when you're at home and just be who you are.
Yes.
And really try to also take that out on the road with you. You have to be honest. You have to be yourself. There's no reason to do this if at the end of the day you feel like you've compromised yourself in any way.
Yeah, of course. I feel like that's always a huge problem with a lot of people getting into the political sphere. They kind of lose their sense of self.
Yeah.
But it seems like both of you have really kept it real, kept down to earth. I love to see it.
Yeah.
So this next one is more just targeted to you. With your background in nonprofits and education, I know you taught a year in Guatemala, correct?
Yes.
And you also worked for a nonprofit called CREED, and that's with 3 E's, right?
3 E's.
3 E's. So what do you plan on bringing to Beto's candidacy and his possible presidency with your background in education and nonprofit work? And also, do you have any goals of your own as a first lady?
So that is always the question that I dread, because that is, it's just, there's so many incredible first ladies, including Michelle Obama, that have just set this incredibly high bar that it's difficult to think of yourself in any way being able to be that. But there are certainly issues that I'm incredibly passionate about, including education. After I graduated, I went to school actually in Northwest Massachusetts.
To Williams, right?
Yeah, so I went to Williams. So this campus, this landscape feels
very natural.
Yeah, it takes me back. But after college, moved to Guatemala and was teaching there, and then was teaching in El Paso when I first moved there, and then got connected with the nonprofit world, all related to education. And you just, if kids are in a classroom, it doesn't matter how amazing that school or that teacher is, but if kids are going home to substandard housing or not getting nutritious meals or the sleep that they need, or now what we're coming to realize after the tragedy in El Paso, if there is emotional trauma, it makes learning so difficult.
Of course.
And so we need to think about education much more holistically than sometimes we are now, and really trying to meet the needs of the whole child so that when they're in that classroom, they can maximize learning.
Yeah, of course. That's very true. With all the stuff going on, being a student at any age, really, it's pretty tough, of course. So having that, like you said, holistic approach, that kind of support, I think, and obviously with kids in substandard living, if you can alleviate that, they can learn better, progress throughout society, and then, it's a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
Not to quote Ronald Reagan, but it's a trickle-down effect. So you said you're from New England, and what kind of brought you to Williams College originally? Because being from Texas originally, it's pretty far from home. What kind of led you there?
Well, so I actually relatively new to Texas. I've been there for 15 years. Okay. So I was born in Chicago, and then when I was 8 years old, my folks moved to New Mexico. Okay. So I actually grew up on a cattle ranch in northern New Mexico. One of my favorite things to do is ride horses and move cattle, and the next phase of our life, I'll be out in the middle of nowhere somewhere doing that. But I just really felt this need to, I love my family, but to get some space and be able to live independently and experience life in a way that is sometimes easier when you're further away, and also just to learn and live in a different part of the country. Right. So, it's so beautiful. It's cold. After 4 years, I was a little tired of the winters, but
especially up here, it gets pretty brutal sometimes.
Yeah.
Have 5 straight weeks of snow and
right. I think my senior year it snowed in May, and I thought, I'm ready for a warmer climate.
Yes, yeah. My father works in construction, and he does a lot of snow removal services, and that's the bane of his existence, I'd say.
Yeah.
But that New England definitely has its charm, I think. So going forward with your campaign, what role do you kind of as a not only a support but a lead of Beto's campaign? How are you going to continue with this and try to keep the ball rolling and try to keep traction with the campaign and with everything going on?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that has been the foundation of every campaign that we've ever run is that we're trying to connect with everybody and not write anybody off.
Of course.
So when we were running for Congress in El Paso, that meant knocking on as many doors and having those one-on-one conversations with as many people as we possibly could. When we were running for Senate, that meant visiting all 254 counties in Texas. Texas is a huge state, takes a lot of driving, but you don't begin to understand the issues and the way it impacts all people until you can engage in those very personal conversations. So I think, what I would love to do in my role on this campaign is to extend that and be a support for Beto in doing that, trying to go hear from people that may not otherwise be heard from, see parts of the country and connect with people that sometimes are written off, and then bringing that back to the campaign to make sure that perspective is heard.
Yeah, that does. I've noticed that, and then with the last election and previous ones, politicians will tend to focus on like one specific region or something where they play the whole political game. And I really do love to see candidates or anyone focus on the whole country, everyone, because we're all stakeholders, and I think obviously everyone matters. So
yeah, absolutely.
And so this is more of a general question, but what's just something that you wish the media or the public or anyone wished that they knew about your family and you and Beto and you guys, and that they don't already know, like something that you really wish was known by the public?
I think that sometimes either through media or just through how people are, portrayed, you see elected officials or celebrities as different or better than, or in a different class. And what I have come just through meeting everybody and through going through this experience is we're just all people, and we need to be able to connect with one another in that way. And so I think that's what I'm trying to do by being in New Hampshire this week. That's what Beto's trying to do all the time, is really break down that wall and be able to have those honest conversations, as he says, eyeball to eyeball.
Yes.
Not only with people who support you, but also with people who may see things differently, to begin that sometimes really difficult conversation, because that's the only way we're going to move things forward is by having those tough conversations.
Yeah, of course. And I always like to think of it this way. We all put our pants on the same way, if you look at people who are in the spotlight or anyone, it's just entirely different people that they're not. We're all one. We're all kind of the same in certain ways. So that's why I like to think of things that way. And you don't want to idolize people.
Yeah.
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 So of course, this is a college radio station, so we love our music here very much, as you can see by the piles of vinyl and records and CDs and tons of music we have. So I want to talk a little bit. I know Beto was in a punk band in his college days.
Yes.
Does he? I have a question about both of you. One, does he still listen to that type of music, some punk or even his own band? And do you like it as well?
He definitely still listens to punk music.
Yes, love it.
I can't say he really listens to the stuff that they created, but there are some guys that were in the band with him. Arlo Clar, that is...
Weren't they in Mars Volta, right?
Yeah,
One
exactly.
Of them?
So he very much still listens to their music, just not necessarily the music that they were making. And... it's some of it has been an acquired taste for me.
Well, I'm sure. I like it a lot. It's called Foss, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I listened to a few songs the other day, and I was like, I could dig this a little bit.
Yeah.
It was definitely college radio music.
Yeah.
It was probably played on WUNH back in the early 90s, I want to say.
So for me, more than the music, I love hearing the stories about them touring together.
Yes.
So
it
sounded like they... it was maybe messy at times, and smelly, maybe just all of them crammed into this tiny car with all of their gear. But just what an adventure, and stories that Beto will tell our kids for forever.
That is a very cool story, and I love the DIY, do-it-yourself kind of ethos they had as a band.
Yeah, and trying to carry that on.
Trying to carry that on. Yeah,
too.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to think about it. And as for you, what are some of your music tastes, and what do you like to listen to? Just whatever, to relax, to get pumped up, to whatever.
So I am all over the board. Lately in the car, my kids will grab my phone, and they're in charge of the playlist. So our two boys have been getting into rap, and so I'm the mom in the front seat. It's like, pick the clean version. Pick the clean version. And then my daughter loves Shawn Mendes. Got to see him in concert not too long ago. So sadly, the music that I'm listening to has really been, pretty much decided by my kids.
Yeah.
But we on Sunday night, it was awesome. Khalid, who started his music career in El Paso.
Yep.
Very much has this deep El Paso pride. Put on a benefit concert for the victims of the mass shooting in early August. And it was at our local university, University of Texas at El Paso. It was in their gym, and it was packed. And there was just so much love and energy in the room, and he put on this incredible show. And my daughter is a huge Khalid fan, so she was super excited to be there, especially when he played her favorite songs.
And that was Location, I take it?
Location, American Teen, those are her two favorites.
Well, that's awesome. I'm very glad he did that. That was big of him to help his community.
Yeah, and raised $500,000 for the community.
That's incredible. Well, Amy, it was absolutely fantastic to have you here. Really blessed that you came and stopped by our little college station.
Thank you, Megan.
And so, guys, Beto's got an event on Saturday, right?
Right, Saturday at 4:30.
4:30 in Hamilton Smith Hall. It is a town hall, so stop by if you can.
Open to everyone.
All right, well, thank you very much. Again, guys, you were listening to 91.3 FM WUNH Durham.